Thank you all for joining us for this installment of Magically Live, where we'll be talking about color contrast and how imperative it is to accessibility. Magically Live is a series of events that we do in which we take one accessibility topic each time and take a deep dive into it. My name is MagicA11y, and today I am joined by two of MagicA11y's wonderful accessibility experts, Erin and Tarveen. Erin, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Erin Evans. I'm a Director of Accessibility here at Magic, and we're really excited to have you here today to share some information on color contrast. Tarveen?
Thank you, Erin. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Magically Live series. Myself, I head accessibility practice at MagicA11y, and it will be a very interesting session where we'll be talking about color contrast. And congratulations to you all for achievement of 33rd ADA. And I think we had a webinar at a very right day, to be true.
Absolutely. Alrighty, so just some housekeeping before we get started. So to start, we'll talk about color contrast for about the first half hour, and then we'll move into a Q&A. For your questions, you can put them in the Q&A tab that Zoom has enabled, and closed captions are also enabled if you need or would like them. So to use them, you can just hit the CC button. Alrighty, and our agenda for the day. First, we'll be talking about color contrast, guidelines, and cheat sheets. Then we'll be talking about checking color contrast, tools, exceptions, and resolutions. And then we'll talk about current and future trends with color contrast, and then we'll go into our Q&A. Alrighty, so just to get started, we'll talk about some different types of color blindness. So about 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women have some sort of color deficiency. The most common forms of color blindness affect an individual's ability to distinguish colors. Green, although greens and reds are the most common, although other colors can be affected. So red-green color vision defects are the most common color vision deficiency, and they affect males much more than females. Blue-yellow color vision affects males and females equally, and then blue-crone monochromy is rarer than any other forms of color blindness and also affects men much more than women. So at least 2.2 billion people in the world have some kind of color blindness. And then in the third picture to the right, you can see different balloon shades and how different types of color blindness sees those balloon shades. And then we go into are all colors accessible? So it kind of depends on the combination and how the color blindness affects the person. So it's different case by case, but it really depends most on the color combination. And I believe we have a fun poll for you. Erin, Tarveen, were there anything else that you want to add on that?
No, I think you did a good job of covering the information just in general of explaining why color contrast and the right ratios will be important, which leads us into the poll of what are the minimum contrast ratios for normal text according to the WCAG guidelines. And there are 4 choices: 2-to-1 for small text and 3-to-1 for large text, 3-to-1 for small text and 4.5-to-1 for large text, 4.5-to-1 for small text and 7-to-1 for large text, 1.4-to-1 for small text and 3-to-1 for large texts. So most of you answered 3.3-to-1 for small text and 4.5-to-1 for large text, which is the correct answer, as we will talk through even more as we continue to go through our slide deck here today. So when you think about the specific WCAG guidelines, there are 2 that are very specific to the color contrast needs. So we have 2 images here on the screen and links to both 1.4.3, which is contrast minimum, and 1.4.11, which is non-text contrast. So before I jump into this, as we always do, this session is being recorded, the slide deck and the recording will be shared out with all participants after the session is over. So when you get this, you can link through. The 1.4.3 is talking about your text and images of text have to have a contrast ratio of 4.5 to 1. So what you see in the image on the left-hand side, there's some text that you see the letters SUM, and those are in a white color, and they're surrounded by kind of this orangish red color. And this is showing you that within this, the text, which is part of there's Greek lettering here, it's lorem ipsum, but the letters and the background that they're on have to meet that contrast of at least 4.5 to 1. So the image there is showing you that has passed. We've done a color contrast analysis, and it has passed those ratios. The image on the right is talking about non-text contrast. So in this case, it's the same graphic, but it's the other side. It's showing how there's kind of a gray ribbon bar and a darker gray, and it's on the background of a light gray color. And that contrast has to have at least a 3-to-1 ratio. And again, the analysis here is showing that in this example, it is not meeting that ratio. So that would be a place where you would want to increase either the hex value of that dark gray ribbon or change your background. So either way to meet those contrasts. Tarveen, is there anything on there that you would like to add?
No, I think you have covered it. And as you see in the screenshot, these are being validated using the color contrast analyzer application. And we have tried to pick up the colors using the color picker and picked up the foreground and background. That's what the guideline asks us to validate.
Thank you, Tarveen. On the screen here is a quick and easy cheat sheet for the color contrast and the requirements for the minimum requirements according to the guidelines. So on the far left, we're explaining that the text, for normal text, the contrast is a 4.5 to 1 ratio, and that's for any size of text. Then as you get into different sizes and different bolding, there's the 3-to-1 ratio. For that large text, it starts when you're at 24 pixels or larger. For the bold text, it's 19 pixels or larger. So these are just some of the details that are pulled out of the standards that if you're doing a quick, oh my goodness, what's the ratio supposed to be? This is something that can help you as you're looking through. It is also 3.1 ratio when you're talking about icons and graphs, as well as UI elements and elements that are around features such as borders or icons, or if you have an underline and other things such as that. So this little page here, again, draws directly from the standards, but is just a quick and easy reference that you guys can utilize. All right, I think we have another poll. Anjali, do you want to read this one?
Sure. What aspect of accessibility does color contrast primarily impact in design? You have 4 options here. The first option is usability and readability for all users. Your second option is brand identity and recognition. Your third option is animation and interaction. And your fourth option is responsiveness and mobile optimization. Alrighty, and most people chose usability and readability for all users. Erin, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
That is the absolute correct answer. That when you're thinking about that is definitely how does your color impact the usability? And again, it doesn't matter how good or bad or in between your vision is. Being considerate of the right contrast helps everybody.
Awesome. Tarveen, can you talk to us a little bit about checking color contrast?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, where to test and how to test. How to test, I think Erin has already covered. But the best practices to follow while doing the color contrast review is the design stage. And we also did a session few months back where we talked about why shift left is important and why we need to ensure that few key checkpoints are being validated being part of the design stage. Now, what all we need to do to ensure that color contrast related issues or non-compliances are fixed here and being taken care by the design team itself. Firstly, we should establish the color palettes to be used across the product, platform, or content, whatever you are developing. establish the guidelines, as we already shared with you, that this is the cheat sheet, the similar way you should build up a cheat sheet for your team members, to ensure they understand, yes, I'm working on a button, I'm working on a UI element, what all implementation I need to make, and then also help them understand what all fall under the exception category. We'll be talking about that in the upcoming slide. And please ensure that you don't wait for actual audits to happen. Get the audit done by your designers, or have experts involved right from the beginning of your product reviews. Ensure that the contrast of interactive elements like hover state, clickable state, non-clickable state, tabbing stage, all of that has been validated for color contrast, because we have seen, if you go through the TOC items and you click on one of the TOC element and you see the color changes, it highlights. Please ensure that all the active and deactivated states are being tested. Similar way, once you click on the link and click has not been like you haven't never clicked on the link, but you click on the link, it changes the color. Try ensuring that the colors for both the states have been validated. Always involve people with disability. That's what we always repeat, and we ensure, as we have already shared, that people with red color impairment are being, like, they are most in terms of percentage, and I have personally worked with them, and I don't know how they would have reviewed the examination papers that they would have used to receive from the teachers, because teachers end up reviewing everything using the red pens. So see how difficult it would have been, and no one would have actually been able to see that, oh yes, this is the red color and I'm going through this disability. So try ensuring that you inverse the colors, use the grayscale mechanism, and try doing different type of testings in the design review itself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Tarveen. And I think we have another poll for you. All right. What is the most effective method people can use to test color contrast compliance in their designs? You have 4 options again. Your first option is using automated tools to analyze color combinations, relying on personal judgment and intuition, comparing colors on different devices and screens, and asking friends and colleagues for feedback. Give you a minute to go ahead and answer that.
Thank you so much. And I think everyone knows the correct answer is using automated tools. Yes, we do have automated tools. And we'll be talking about another new technology that you can use for color contrast validation.
So on the screen here are a list of a couple of the most common tools. Tarveen, do you want to kind of talk through some of these?
Sure, absolutely. So as these are most widely used tools and they give us really good output, but everything is done through a manual process. WebAM Color Contrast Checker, Color Contrast Analyzer. This is a standalone application for both Windows and Mac, and there is also a browser extension that you can use. These are through TPGI. There is Stark, that is a design plugin that you can use with the tools that you use while creating the design. It could be Sketch, Figma, or Adobe XD. And there is also a contrast checker by Tanner Guru. So what you need to do is you need to pick up your hex values and add to this tool, and then do the manual stuff, and then it will give you the results. So all of these tools are most widely used. Everything is done through color pickers. You do the selection, ensure that you're picking up the right high contrast color within your image. Don't go for the gradients that continue to increase or decrease during the images, but pick up the right set of image.
You can also, with these tools, if you're trying to look at the font colors that you're using, you can pull the hex value out of your code, or if you have those color palettes established, you can input those 2 values and that'll also help. But either way, to Tarveen's point, it's these tools are awesome. They're very useful. They do require manual inputs to understand what those ratios are going to be.
Absolutely.
So there are some exceptions to the rules, as there always are. And if you look through the standards, you'll see that they have listed out these exceptions pretty clearly. When it comes to color contrast, it is okay if there are elements within a logo that don't always meet those contrast standards. So on the screen here, we have our MagicA11y logo, which it uses different colors within it. We have included the border around it, so it definitely is able to be seen. But we know that some of those colors inside, as they're next to each other, might not meet those contrast ratios, but that is an exception and an allowed exception. Decorative images are also another place where that contrast requirement is accepted. We have just a generic image here that honestly, in this use case, has no instructional value, if you will. It's a colored, red and colored background with some streaks in it and some numbers and letters that to this context has no meaning. It's okay that those don't meet those contrast. And then the third image we have and the third exception is about intrinsic colors. So colors that are within something that a browser operating system is going to be manipulating, and it's not something that designers might have control over. This is an image. I'm not sure if it's a photograph or an illustration, but it's kind of like this cool little cell looking thing, very space age with different colors inside of it. And again, that is the different colors within that is part of the image. So it's okay that you're not checking each and every little piece for that contrast. Tarveen, is there anything you want to add on those?
No, I think you have covered it wonderfully. It is neurobrain image, Erin last one. And there are also few exceptions that are pretty logical. I just wanted to share that, for example, the blood flowing, the blue and red veins, these shouldn't be changed because that's how blood is being represented. And even the glass beakers, they are always transparent, whatever the case is, so you don't need to do anything additional to make them compliant. So we need to understand, like, sun is always yellow and orange, so no need to add the specific boundary to it, or moon is always white. So few things needs to be realistic to give same usability and same user experience to everyone. So those are also the core exceptions that we need to take care of.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
all right, Tarveen, can you talk to us a little bit about resolutions?
Yes, absolutely. I know we have talked more about the problems and all the non-compliances. Now it comes like people come to us, all the colors, adjacent colors are failing. Now what I need to do? So to fix and remediate, for example, you have a pie chart or a bar graph or a map where you are depicting rainfall for the season. So what you can do is you can add the patterns, you can add borders, textures, different style of lines, so that you don't completely rely on the colors itself, and you have labeled them appropriately for user to understand the information. Stay consistent across your content. Ensure that whatever design or color you are using to depict one information, similar is used across your program. Always use high contrast icon, whatever the case is, even if user is viewing your content in high resolution or low resolution, the image pixel information remains intact, and it is easy for any type of visual disability to perceive the required information. Erin, would you like to add anything to the resolutions?
I think you covered them really well. I will say, like the borders and outlines, I'm going to use the term low-hanging fruit or something easy to do. You talked about pie charts. And I know that we use those oftentimes in business presentations as well as in educational senses. And even just adding that like a black border for each of the wedges of a pie makes a huge difference in being able to see and understand how those slices are differentiated. So, it might seem like it's overwhelming, like, oh my goodness, I have to go change everything. And that's not really the case. I think it's really important to understand that there are some ways to manipulate those images in an easy way to get to the contrast. And as you said, Tarveen, make everything perceivable for others.
Thank you, Erin.
Absolutely. All right. Ladies, can you tell us about some current and future trends?
Absolutely, we can. As we've already discussed, and as Tarveen referred to, we have been talking about the shift left mentality, and things that are happening now are people are looking at their color palettes at a different perspective. And when you guys are starting to create new branding for the company, new marketing materials, new content, thinking about what are those main colors, how are you using them, what is the background color of your digital experience going to look like, and how do those colors work with that. Doing all of that work now in the upfront stages of the design phase will certainly help prevent some of these errors from coming up as you move forward into the production and into the usability of using those products out in the market. I like to say the future is now when it comes to AI, because that's definitely been a hot topic in the last 3 to 6 months, especially in the industry that we're in. And you hear, how do we use AI? And there are ways that you can harness artificial intelligence to support finding those color contrast. Using these AI tools, there's a way to reduce costs, increase your turnaround time, and all of that. Specifically, we want to talk to you about one of the AI tools that Magic has built. It's called, it's one of our MagicA11y suite of tools, and Tarveen's going to share some examples of how using the future, which is now, of AI can be used to support these. Tarveen?
Absolutely. Thank you, Erin. So this is one of the tool that we have developed. The reason we thought of sharing it, because it's a game changer and we have invested a lot. We wanted to pick up a test case that is not that easy to achieve. We know people are talking about AI. We have seen a lot of transformation in accessibility through AI. People are using the gadgets. They are using the usual specs to traverse, to navigate to information. All are these being enabled through AI, and it is increasing productivity, reducing the dependency, and making people more accessible. They have access to everything. But color contrast, we felt that this will remain the process which would need the manual intervention, looking at the current pie that we have. So this tool is labeled as MagicA11y Color Contrast Validator. It is completely AI enabled, and this works on the core technology of AI. And this is not a ChatGPT thing, to be very true. This doesn't give access to your content to anyone. This is a homegrown tool, and it is giving 98% of the accuracy. So I will quickly show you a few examples of how the output gets generated. What will you get after accessing this tool? So what happens is, if I'm doing this image review manually, I'll pick up every color, foreground and background, and will test this. Now it has reported one non-compliance. It will show all the non-compliances within the image. This is one example that we are presenting. So gray background was failing. The gray color was failing with the white background. So it has highlighted all the gray area, and at the top panel, it will give you information: what was the background color, what is the foreground color, and what is the contrast ratio. As we all know that non-textual content should have 3:1, whereas we ended up receiving 1.448, which is lower than the contrast ratio of 3:1. So this is how all the failures will get reported. Every image will have the foreground, background, and the contrast ratio. And in similar image, when we executed using our AI tool, it highlighted the yellow color, the orange color, the light blue color, and it has resulted the different images highlighting all the failures. So it's very easy to perceive. Sorry, go ahead, Erin.
No, sorry, go ahead.
It is easy to perceive. Your designers can easily look into what is the specific area that is failing and what it needs like he needs to go back and fix within that image.
And what I was going to say too is, when utilizing AI to find these non-compliance areas, as Tarveen mentioned, and we were showing earlier, it used to be using the color picker and choosing those pixels of that light gray or dark gray or the yellow against the light gray. So this harnessing AI speeds up that process. And then thinking a step farther, if you were using this map and you got this information, how would you go ahead and fix this, right? And we were just talking about some of the resolutions, and one option on a map such as this would be just adding in a black border, because that contrast of that dark black against the gray versus the medium gray, whatnot, would help to show those outlines of the different countries.
Absolutely. Thank you, Erin. So moving on to the next image, this is a typical pie chart kind of a thing. And if you see on the right side, it is failing orange with the white background, and or similar way the yellow with the white background, and it has highlighted all the information related to background and foreground. And this tool can execute any kind of images. There's one limitation, that tool doesn't understand which one are the decorative images. So that's where the manual intervention will be required. Otherwise, it will give you a 98% accurate result of the outcome when executed. So this is what the power of AI is.
And then we have two more examples that are in the same vein, showing how these AI images have better, let me start over. How the images have been input into the tool, and then the outputs there are again indicating where those failures are showing up, so that then you can go back in and know exactly where you would need to fix something. And as we mentioned earlier, what are those ways to resolve that? And that is additional information that we would be able to provide you as we're working with you, or you're just going through this on a strategic level to say, what can I do to improve the color contrast and the accessibility of my products?
Absolutely. Moving on to the next image, that is an example of a table, and we have information highlighted with the gray color and the gray dots. So that gray color and gray dots are failing, and the tool has highlighted it with the blue highlighter to differentiate, and also given the information. So we wanted to go beyond the manual, like usual audit process. We'll continue to build these kind of tools, and we'll share the new upcoming AI initiatives so that you can implement the same in your day-to-day lives and get benefited out of it. And again, this one is an example of a bar graph showing the population, and at the top you see the green color where the text is written 10 rank world population. That green color is pairing with the background light orange color, to be precise. And again, all the information is being highlighted here. And there are many failures within each of the images. I have only pulled out the key instances and one instance per image to specifically talk about.
Yep. And we had just had that conversation in the chat as well. So thank you for reiterating that, Tarveen.
Oh, okay. I didn't read the chat.
No, that's okay. I was just saying the same thing, so you were reading my mind.
Thank you. So that's pretty much it.
All right, lady. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful information. I think we're about ready to move into our question and answer session. So we already have one question in the Q&A box, and as we go, you guys are welcome to drop some in there as well, and we will answer them as we receive them. So the first question is, what does each number mean on the contrast ratios?
Are you referring to the hex numbers that were added? These are the background and foreground colors, hex values converted into the pixels information, and then it validates the background and foreground combination. There's a logic written behind, and then it gives what is the actual contrast ratio. That's from more of a design standpoint.
Yeah, and I think the information is the 3-to-1, and that's just the mathematical ratio of the difference between those colors. So I appreciate the way you explain the hex value as well. So there is the foreground to background, and those are interchangeable within that 3-to-1 ratio or that 4.5-to-1 ratio.
Yes. Few people end up validating using hex and few people end up validating using RGB. So it will depend on what information you have. You can surely do the cross validation and see both the values, compare them, and you will have the output.
All right, beautiful. Our next question is for Mark, and he said, did I miss information about the cost of the Magically Color Contrast Validator, or is this a free tool the public can leverage?
So to be very true, Mark, we didn't wanted to utilize our Magically Live series to sell anything, but if you're interested, you can surely send us email on accessibility@magicedtech.com. And we are offering almost 60% saving, and it is all the more based on what is the volume of images you have. And this tool, trust me, this tool is not only images, any content that you have, we can just take a quick screenshot and also do the text versus the color instead of only the non-textual content. So anything can be validated, even a platform features screen can be validated using this tool against these two guidelines. So we are happy to support in case you need any additional information on this.
Great, awesome. Those are all of the questions that we have in the Q&A box for right now. If you have any others, please drop them and we will go ahead and answer them for you. Give everyone a minute to think.
Yeah, we'll have more AI coming your way, trust me, because that's what the need of the hour is. And I think we all need to adapt towards this new change and have more productive outcomes and what we do day-to-day basis. So that's the reason we picked up this topic, and we really wanted everyone to give their best towards how we can leverage AI in accessibility.
And as we said, the future is now when it comes to using AI as another tool in the toolbox of, it's similar to when we think about the automated testing tools that are out there for accessibility, right? Those are automated tools that have a great value for accessibility, but it's not replacing humans. It's just helping to improve efficiencies, and that supports everyone. So we have something in the chat from Sammy, and it said, I have used Color Contrast Analyzer, but recently have been introduced to Protean Studio Contrast Checker. Have you had experience working with this tool? I haven't personally used that tool. The different contrast analyzers that we shared were a few of the examples of what is out there. Tarveen, I don't know if you have used the Protean Studio Checker as well.
No, I haven't used. Is it a plugin or like a desktop installable tool that is there? It's a desktop.
The desktop install, yeah.
So again, we would surely need to go back and do the picker and do the validation and do all of that stuff. So if the outputs are really great, we can surely go ahead and look into the same. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And Sammy, what I would like to say is I think it's awesome that you are using something else that is working, and the simple, the goal of our series here is increasing awareness around accessibility. So whatever tool is out there that's working for you, I'm glad to hear that you already have one and that you're already using something to make sure that you're working towards that goal of those correct contrast ratios.
And Denim, as you rightly said, yes, there is no tool that tests the color contrast of the images using automated process. There is no existence of any tool. So that's the reason we claim that this is a game changer for everyone that we have built using the AI. And I just wanted to request, considering you guys joined our session, in case you come across, you have any idea about what should be the next test scenario that we should pick up, We'll be happy to hear from you, or you can drop into the chat box. We'll try to do the feasibility study and come up with some solution in our upcoming sessions. Anything that you feel should be the P1 to be picked through AI, we'll be happy to see your comments.
And along those same lines, you know, if you guys also have specific accessibility related topics that you want us to cover, please also let us know. We have a couple of ideas for the next couple of sessions, but we're happy to listen to what you guys have to say, and we want to make sure that we're covering your needs. So to Tarveen's point, our next session, which will happen on August 22nd, is going to be about different ways to harness the power of AI within accessibility. There's a lot of different tools and conversations around AI in the market right now, and we'll be sharing what we've been seeing out there and how that is having a positive impact on the work we're all doing within the accessibility community.
Absolutely. Thank you, Erin.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, we'll give everyone just one more minute in case there are any last minute questions.
And when you guys do receive this session, the link for the registration will be there. Anjali, I don't know if you're able to post that link also in the chat.
Let me see.
Maybe Arpit or Pooja, if maybe one of you can put that link in the chat too before we close, that would be awesome.
So, Andrin, you can contact us. There's an email that is being listed out, and tool is not a licensed thing that we are selling out. We wanted to understand your type of images and everything, and we haven't yet productized it. So we are happy to support you, because it's just not the color contrast to be done right. There are many other things that are to be taken care. So this is the tool that we are using internally for all our partners.
Thank you all again for joining us today. We hope you'll be able to join us in a few more weeks on our next session on the 22nd of August. Until then, try to stay cool wherever you are, because I know some of us are boiling in the heat. Arpit, thank you for posting the link for our next session in the chat. If you guys are able to grab that, go for it. Otherwise, we'll be posting on our social media and share out all of the information going forward.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.